Right, well, welcome everybody. I am Leslie Lee, Chairman of the Board of Save the Sound, and I am so delighted to welcome you to this year's annual meeting. It's great to see so many wonderful familiar faces on the screens here. This year's theme is resilience. It's a quality greatly needed right now, and resilience can be described as changing and adapting to challenges. Save the Sound is resilient. For example, this is our 41st, I think, annual meeting. So we've been working the Long Island Sound area for quite a while. But we are also adapting and growing. So this is our first annual meeting under our new unified name, Save the Sound. It is also our first virtual meeting. And I wanted to thank so much the staff who worked so hard to make this meeting run smoothly, hope it will, to our full staff whose resilience has made Save the Sound's work continue to run smoothly in this very difficult year, and to you, our members, because it is your support and your generosity during this pandemic that has been key to our being able to continue our progress for the environment. So thank you all. Today, after our business meeting, Curt will give you an overview of the past year that has been busy and productive despite the pandemic, as well as our visions for the years ahead. Then we will separate into 4 breakout rooms where staff will brief you on climate change, water quality in Long Island Sound, protecting lands, or environmental restoration. Our first order for the business meeting is the approval of the minutes of the 2019 annual meeting, which was sent to you previously. I hope you've all gotten it. I don't know if I can make the screen there. So we would like you to respond to the question that will show on your screens, approving of, I hope approving of the minutes. And please respond promptly because we have about half a minute or so to collect these before we move to the next question. If anybody is not seeing the poll on their screen, you can go to the chat room at the bottom of your screen and let who's ever monitoring the chat room know, and they can fix that. All right. So the next business matter is the election of board members and officers. Before I turn the podium over to our governance chair, Celia Felsher, I want to say a few words of heartfelt appreciation to our outgoing board member, Barbara Setlow. Barbara has been a strong supporter for many years, and her thoughtful and reflective comments have added insightful, important insights to our work. Thank you, Barbara. You will be missed. Now, Celia, will you conduct the election part of our business meeting, please?
Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the annual meeting. On behalf of the Governance Committee, it's my pleasure to provide you the following nominated slate of directors for re-election for another 3-year term. These directors are all currently completing a 3-year term. Todd Cort, Dawn Henry, Catherine Kennedy, Leslie, and Joseph McDougall. That is for nomination of a 3-year term. So Leslie, should we first go ahead and approve that slate of directors for a 3-year term?
That sounds great. So I would like to ask for you to respond to the second poll that will show up on your screen. And we are asking for approval of the board of directors that have been presented for re-election. All right, I think just as a side note, when the final poll is done for this and the other questions, if Anthony could let us know what the results were, since you're the one tabulating, right?
Yes, and I can share them with you.
Fantastic, thanks. Okay, Celia, back to you.
So I would now like to nominate Elizabeth Swanson, who is being nominated to serve a one-year term as a new director. She has been involved with the organization, and she has been very active as an interim board member, and we have really enjoyed working with her. The reason why her term would be 1 year is because we are trying to create the appropriate even numbered 3-year term groups. And so we would hope that she would then at the end of next year be part of the slate that would be nominated for a subsequent 3-year full term. So with that in mind, I would make a motion to elect Elizabeth Swanson to the board for a 1-year term.
Right, and I would like to call for a screen vote on Elizabeth. Yes. All righty. And I don't know if everybody saw it, but the first slate of elections were 100% unanimously approved. Okay, Celia?
The last thing that I would like to do is present to the membership a slate of officers for the following year. And I will explain a little bit in a moment. The slate would be for Chair Todd Cort, Johan Verkamp for Vice Chair, Richard Chip Engel for Treasurer, and Joseph McDougall for Secretary. Leslie has been our beloved chairperson for many years now, and she's going to continue on the board, but felt that it was appropriate to have a change in, as we move forward, to have a new chair. I'm sorry, my dog is going crazy, but Todd, and I just want to say a word about Todd as chair because it's an important position. Todd has been involved with Save the Sound for quite a while. He's been on the board for 3 years and has served as treasurer since 2017 and has done an excellent job. He's a faculty member at the Yale School of Management and the Yale School of Environment, where he teaches corporate responsibility and sustainable finance, which is very much linked to our work. He also serves as faculty co-director for the Yale Center for Business and the Environment and director for the Yale Initiative on Sustainable Finance. He holds a PhD in Civil and Environmental Engineering and a bachelor's in biochemistry, as well as a professional engineering license. So we are all very lucky to have Todd willing to give his time and energy to the organization. It's been a pleasure for my part to have worked with him over the last 1.5 years that I've been on the board, and look forward to his leadership as we move forward. So with that, I would make a motion to approve that slate that I just mentioned.
Great. I'd like to call for a vote on the poll showing up on your screen. And I'm happy to report that Elizabeth Barry Swanson's election to the board was approved unanimously. So, thank you, Celia, for all of your work on the board. She is on a number of different committees, and your leadership of the governance committee, which is one of the key committees of the organization. So thank you. Our next speaker, Curt Johnson, needs no introduction because he has been a vital part of Connecticut Fund for the Environment and Save the Sound for, I think, about 26, 27 years. Who's counting? But he does deserve a huge resilience shout out for his leadership of Save the Sound this past year. He has guided us through the staff's transfer to working from home, through the economic turmoil of the spring, through needed safety protocols for our hands-on eco restoration team and volunteers, and finding always the balance between curtailing expenses and not compromising the scope and excellence of Save the Sound's work. Thank you, Curt. And I turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Hopefully people will be able to see this in a moment. Let me just work my screen here. Yeah, so I just want to start out repeating or emphasizing what Leslie said. A huge thank you to all of you for supporting us, for being there for us this year. It's been a roller coaster, but you've been there for us. So without you and your support, there wouldn't have been an opportunity to share today how Save the Sounds pivoted during COVID to assure that regional action for your environment continued stronger than ever this year, which I'm proud to say, in fact, it did. Because of your support, our 33 staff, professional staff, were able to pivot and have impact throughout your region. This is what we call our impact map. You can maybe see my cursor here, but every one of these locations represents an action for your land, your air, your water. Just as we promised when we changed our name to Save the Sound, we continue our legal actions, which are identified here in yellow, all around, both all the way up to the Mass border around to Long Island. Our land battles in brown, which of course here in Plum Island, a mile on the Oswegatchie hills on the Niantic, way up here on the Mass border, and you'll be hearing about a project in Hamden we're taking on. Our climate actions, like fighting to stop a dangerous climate emitting plant here in Killingly, our work up in Hartford, our work up in Albany. Your 33 staff have been creative, adaptable, and very effective. I now want to just spend a moment on Ms. Lee, who's been our board chair from 2015 to 2020 and is our 2020 Save the Sound annual awardee. I have to say, when we talked internally about awards this year, it was a little bit like when Queen Victoria talked about the first cup race. You know, there was no second. She has been just a phenomenal leader. Our success over the past 5 years in expanding our impact and action agenda and get results has a lot to do with her leadership. She is our awardee for a simple reason. She steered our Save the Sound through some challenging waters and helped build the reputation and resilience of the organization. Today, her last day as our chair, is a time to reflect on her accomplishments. At the beginning of her term, we had not yet opened our New York office. We now have, it will soon be 7 full-time staff down there doing all the water quality work that you'll see. There was no monitoring occurring out on Long Island Sound. We had no soundkeeper. We had just heard about Plum Island. We had barely gotten started in Oswegatchie Hills. She worked tirelessly to build and guide a fantastic board of directors, attending every single committee meeting. She led the organization through challenging financial waters and steps down now, having led the organization into a strong financial position. And maybe most importantly, on a personal note, I've loved working with Leslie. She's always made herself available. She has always provided me with wise counsel and guided us towards programmatic and fundraising success. So Leslie, on behalf of the staff and the board of directors, we present to you this annual award. And I am honored to have partnered with you over the last 5 years. So a virtual round of applause for Leslie Lee. Thank you, Leslie. Well, part of our resilience was we couldn't get together with y'all. We could not do any events. We really couldn't have any public activities at all, which we had many the year before and the years prior. So we stayed connected virtually. This is one example of one webinar community forum we held on August 26th, having to do with the Olin powder farm. We did a total over the last 6 months, we've done a total of 19 webinars. We had a film club with 7 films. They're all available for view on our virtual archive. And I'll talk about the next one coming up on the 16th in just a moment. But this one is a particularly important one, I think, to the organization. We partnered with African-American leaders from the Newhall neighborhood of Hamden, our local land trust, and a social justice group, Connect, and we held this community forum. The genesis of this webinar came from a phone call that I received about a year ago from Justin Farmer. Justin is the town councilman from the Newhall neighborhood, and he asked us if we would team up with him and folks from the neighborhood to see that the 100-acre forest and 5 gorgeous ponds that make up the powder farm could be permanently protected and become a nature park for Newhall and all the surrounding neighborhoods. It will provide a disadvantaged environmental justice neighborhood with access to healthy benefits of strolling and refuge in nature, an issue of equity and equal access for all of us. The struggle has just begun. We will be going up to the DEP this year and demanding that they move forward a cleanup against the Olin Corporation. But we will stick with it until the nature park is created. Ecological restoration. We worked with the state and counseled them, and the state made a declaration in February that this is, in fact, an essential service. You're seeing some images of just a bit of our work this year from the great team that you can hear about from Gwen McDonald a little bit later. On the left, what you see is one of 7 rain gardens that we built in New Haven on the west side of the city. These rain gardens collect polluted rain water, storm water, get it back into the ground, keep it from flooding neighborhoods, and are turning New Haven ever greener. On the right, what you see is our latest fishway, which my cursor is showing here. It's actually a lovely fishway on Page's Pond. This is the Farm River, and now brown trout and river herring can move up this, come up into Page's Pond for the first time since the Revolutionary War. There'll be so many benefits ecologically. And finally, on ecological restoration, I just want to share this great crowning achievement of the team this year. This is out at Sunken Meadow State Park in New York. It attracts literally millions of people every summer. What has happened here is this is the before scene when this area was filled with invasive Phragmites reed. And now we have many more acres of healthy wetland, and we will have in total 135 acres, we hope in another 5 years or so, of restored wetlands. And to protect that wetlands, what we did is took this, we're able to work with parks, take this 17-acre parking lot, convert it into a smaller parking lot with trees and rain gardens absorbing the storm water, and these 2 big rain garden areas, bioswales, being able to intercept the rainwater, get it back into the ground, and protect the river here. So it's really quite a remarkable effort. There were 300 volunteers involved. We were able to hire a seasonal park ranger to explain to hundreds of thousands of people why we were doing this project. It was a great success. I just want to spend a couple minutes on what you've been able to accomplish with us this year on climate in Connecticut. We worked with a coalition which convinced the state of Connecticut to procure enough offshore wind to electrify 125,000 homes here in the state of Connecticut. We had success. We led the charge for a shared solar program for all incomes. What this means is that as it rolls out, people who can't put solar up on their roofs can buy into a neighborhood solar array, get cheaper prices. It's available for all incomes and help save the planet. Extremely exciting. What's up next is a battle for equitable, climate-friendly transportation. There is a program called the Transportation Climate Initiative, which we, Connecticut, are joining with 11 other states. We are advocating strongly for the governor and the legislature to get on board. What it will do is create more friendly, I should say climate-friendly transit, clean transit for everyone in the state. It will create more opportunities for electric vehicles. It will start to reduce our largest single climate polluting sector of our economy. This has been a tough week for our staff because we lost our own Melissa Schlag just last Friday at a very young age. She worked with us for 4 years. I should say she chose us, and she chose to work with us for 4 years. She had a remarkable career. She was first selectman in Haddam. She had many opportunities. She chose to work with us as a great communicator, as our climate advocate, as someone who was reaching out in working with young people who are part of the youth climate movement in Connecticut. She brought young people under her wing. We had a couple of international interns who she literally found ways to get them back home during the pandemic. She took care of each and every one of us. We're really a strong family here at Save the Sound. We honor her. She was and is a resilient and indomitable warrior for justice on every level and for climate justice in particular. So on to water, data driving action. We this year weren't even sure we could do monitoring, but our incredible staff, Tracy and Peter and Elena, stepped up and were able to do trainings online with our 22 partners groups. They were able over a 2 or 3 day period to hire a U-Haul truck, get all the equipment out to them. We have gone ahead and had a successful monitoring season. This is an image of all the bays and harbors around the Sound where our 22 folks, or I should say organizations in Save the Sound monitored this summer for ecological health. And I'm excited to say that just 2 days ago, we launched and announced our 2020 Long Island Sound report card. A shout out to Peter and to Martin and to, of course, Tracy's leadership in New York in putting this together. It not only shows that water quality improves in the center Sound as you move from out here, out east in the Eastern Basin to New York City, but it also shows the conditions of each one of these bays and harbors by a simple image. The more orange and red it gets, the worse it is. The lighter yellow and green it gets, the better it is. And I was a little shocked to learn that my very own Farm River, where I've lived most of my life, got a D. I'm hoping it's not because I live there. I'm sort of teasing. It's because we have just simply too much seaweed, too much nitrogen coming in, and too many nights when the oxygen levels go to zero. It's already motivating my neighbors who are part of the Farm River estuary, Friends of the Farm River estuary, to think about what strategies we're going to undertake with the towns of Branford and East Haven, and that's exactly the kind of action that we want this to move forward. And finally, we don't do this monitoring just for science sake. It's to move action. This is our soundkeeper, Bill Lucy, and our lead attorney, Roger Reynolds. They are teaming up with Kat Fiedler and with Tracy, and finding, tracking down, and fixing pollution problems. We're working in 15 bays and harbors all around the Sound. We're working in Bridgeport and Darien and West Haven and Stamford and all along the Westchester coast. And, you know, often it's just a matter of going to the press and working with the towns. Sometimes Roger has to bring out the big guns of the Clean Water Act. It is essential that Roger is there, and we have that capacity because that's what makes action happen. And finally, moving on to our lands program, I just want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity and the capacity to be able to put out a phenomenal report on the future of Plum Island, Envision Plum Island. We held a fantastic press conference in July, 110 folks there, all our congressional people there, officials from the state of New York there. We've already managed to get the state of New York to pass a marine protective zone around Plum Island. But we have so much more work to be done with our Congress people. This is the year we have so much work to do with the state of New York to get them to commit to permanently purchasing and protecting and following this vision for public use and enjoyment and ecological protection out on Plum Island. So you all are our success. You know, you're the ones that stepped up this year. You've supported us financially. You've been there at coastal cleanups. You have been there for our first very, very successful virtual paddle across the Sound. You've been there at every step of the way. I can't thank you enough. And again, congratulations to Leslie Lee, our annual awardee. Thank you.
Thank you, Curt. And I have to say, I am so moved. It has been such an honor to be part of the leadership of Save the Sound. You know, while it's brought some new gray hairs to my head, it has also brought the joy of knowing that I was working with an incredibly talented staff and a smart, committed board to bring vital work for our environment. And it has been a fabulous honor. So thank you very much. Now, I think you'll find out a little more in detail about our programs as we enter our breakout rooms. If Anthony's ready to send us to the various ones that we have selected.
Yeah, we can do that. There will be some folks, if you did not select a breakout room beforehand, or if you're on the phone or otherwise I could not figure out which room you had selected, you will remain in this session and we'll just go through one by one and I'll put you into the rooms you want. But we'll open all the rooms now and we'll get you all going.
Great. And then you'll all come back after and we will have a wrap up. So we'll see you in a little bit. So thank you all for participating in the breakout. This has been a new experience for us, and thanks to Anthony for organizing it all. As you've heard in the officers' elections, Todd Cort is our new chair of the Save the Sound board. Todd has served on our board for a number of years, has served as our treasurer and as a member of the executive committee. So he knows what he's getting into. I am delighted to leave the board in such capable hands. Todd, over to you.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, everyone. Yes, I do understand what I'm getting into. I'm getting into more gray hair, is my understanding from all that I've heard. So I just want to leave us on a bit of a personal resilience note. So our theme is resilience, and I just want to talk a little bit about kind of my perception on resilience and how nature has taken such a critical role in my journey. So probably like many of you, I am bombarded today with headlines kind of almost every minute about things going on around the world, in our nation, and then even locally, that create anxiety, whether it's climate change or politics or something else. And it can be very difficult to be resilient in the face of all these different things that are going on. But one of my big reflections recently has been what I call the hope that we find in nature. And as I thought about this over the last several weeks, there's actually a lot of information and data and initiatives and people that are creating hope, and a lot of that is really tied into the natural world right now, which is at the heart of what Save the Sound is doing. And I thought I would just share some of the reflections that I've had around the hope that is generated from nature before we say goodbye. So one thing that has really come up as a large part of my life, because I have young children, is one of the biggest movements, social movements that we have seen in the last 30 or 40 years has been the young people, college-aged, elementary school, even younger, that are willing to take to the streets, that are willing to form their own climate marches, all in with the expectation that we adults are going to do something about an existential challenge that they are facing and they're starting to understand. And to me, that is a source of incredible hope, that the natural environment is pushing young people to take charge, for lack of a better word. So that is one source of hope at a very global level, that there's such an incredible movement around the environment that is going to drive change and is already driving change. A second bit of hope, which is a little closer to my research here at Yale, is that the natural systems are also driving a lot of finance today. So I teach at the business school and the School of the Environment, and I track data on how companies and investors move money. And more we're seeing those investors are moving money in response to environmental aspects. I don't want to go through all the little charts. I just wanted to show a little snapshot. So if we look at stock prices over the last 11 plus years, we see that those companies that invest in environmental responsibility do better financially. If we look across asset portfolios, we find that those assets and those funds that invest in environmental responsibility do better financially. Now, it's particularly true when the pandemic hit earlier this year. We saw that in a downturned economy, those responsible companies and those portfolios just did better. And there's something to this data that suggests that strong recognition of environmental responsibility and strong recognition of environmental capital is just a good business plan. And so we're seeing more and more capital shift that way. We also see particular markets that are very responsive to this. So I've pulled out renewable energy just as an example, but it's one of many examples. These exponential growth patterns where investors are moving capital towards what they see as the next great opportunity. In this case, it's solar power globally. But we see it across the board in environmental systems, that companies see advantages to investing in these aspects. And so we're seeing more and more movement to protect the environment. And that to me is an enormous source of hope, because once financial capital moves towards responsible investing, then a lot of things will cascade around it. A third big source of hope for me, again, very close to home, is that the environment is also creating solutions to challenges outside of the environment. So the environment is creating solutions around how are we going to feed ourselves. The environment creates solutions around how we're going to protect our families and our economies. These things are all tied together. I've just picked a couple of examples here. A book that I just finished reading called Eat Like a Fish. Wonderful book about how can we both address climate change, but at the same time create jobs and feed people around this country. Amazing synergies between environmental protection and economic growth. There's fantastic studies out there around the economic benefits of preserving coral reefs and mangrove systems. And this is just a little bit of a little snippet from the World Wildlife Foundation, that we estimate that we make almost $7 trillion per year by protecting ecosystems, just a few ecosystems, because of all the benefits that they create. That's another incredible source of hope for me. But probably the closest one to home for me is going outside and just looking. So this is a picture that I took a couple of weeks ago at the Branford Land Trust. First time I've ever been out there. I'm very bitter that I've never been there before. It's a fantastic place, but the sense of hope that is created by going out into natural areas and experiencing the outside world, and talking to people at a 6-foot distance with a mask on is just an amazing sense of hope for me as well. One that I just can't receive or accrue in other areas. And so that kind of brings me to where I want to send you as we finish this meeting, which is, how can you engage? What is our call to action given these sources of hope? So my first one is just that I hope that you will go out and get your nature fix, which, by the way, I stole that name. That's why it's in capitals. It's a book. It's called The Nature Fix. And it's fantastic about how going out into natural areas on a regular basis creates better mental health, better success in life. So go out and get your nature fix. We ended our breakout session with a go see the Oswegatchie Hills, take a walk. It's a fantastic way to engage and to promote your own sense of hope and resilience within these times. Contribute your time, contribute your money, contribute your thoughts to environmental preservation. It's a fantastic way to create hope within your own life. And finally, collaborate. Find like-minded people who have the same principles and values as you, as to conserve open lands, to protect water, etc. It's an incredibly enriching experience to be with like-minded people that are working towards a common goal. I hope that all of you can go from this meeting with a new sense of, I'm going to go out and do something. That would be fantastic. But even if you don't, even if you have, your plate is busy, you have lots of things to do, I still wanted to thank you so much for taking this hour and a little bit more to join us. Your support, as Curt said, has just been incredibly valuable, is the reason that we can continue to do all this good work that you've heard about. And I look forward to seeing all of you in a year with a few more gray hairs. Thank you.